Welcome, guys. Thursday night football showdown site. We got the Rams and we got the Raiders. As far as the Vegas odds go, we are currently sitting at a 44.5 over under, with the Raiders being 6-point favorites. If you guys are new to the channel, again, I could cover content for Draftkings as well as for Prize Picks, Draftkings, NBA, and NFL. Prize Picks, again, if you're not familiar, it's a player prop site. You can use the code DKDFS for a 100% match up to $100. Basically, that means if you deposit using my code $100, you get a free $100 to play with on the site. We have a free square here, Justin Herbert, 0.5 passing yards you can utilize as one of your pairs. So how it works is you pick 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 6 player props, can win up to 25x your money. So again, guys, first-time users, make sure to take advantage of the code. Take advantage of this free square as well with Justin Herbert. And if you guys are looking for more in-depth content, I'll offer a lot of different packages down below. If you have any questions, always can leave them in the comment section or hit me up on Twitter. All right, so let's just get right into it. Let's start off with the Raiders, and the Raiders are a relatively easy team to talk about. Waller and Renfrow are getting close to returning, but sounds like they won't be available for this game. Josh Jacobs, they have him listed as questionable, but I expect him to play. He was limited. He's been banged up last couple of weeks, and he's still been phenomenal. So the reason I say they're relatively easy to talk about is because snap count wise, I mean, they're just playing the same guys like the entire game. But Josh Jacobs, basically a bell cow back. He played 46 of the 61 snaps. The top two wide receivers, Devontae Adams, played 59 of the 61 snaps. Mac Hollins played 60 of the 61. The slot wide receiver, Keelan Cole, played about half the game. Foster Moreau played 55 of the 61 snaps. They're just not really mixing any other guys in. Like Amir Abdullah was the backup running back. He played 12 snaps. You saw 4 snaps for Zamir White. So yeah, it's like there's not a lot of options on the Raiders for the showdown site. So looking at the top end guys, I mean, Adams and Jacobs, this is where the offense comes from, right? You're most likely going to get double-digit targets from Devontae Adams. He has a massive, massive ceiling. He's gone for 30-plus fantasy points now in 4 of the last 5 games. Josh Jacobs also been playing out of his mind. He had that 51 fantasy point game, 20-plus for him the last 4. He's been more involved in the passing game as well, 8, 4, 7, and 2 targets. So, like, I don't think we had to spend a ton of time on these guys. I think they both look great. If you can afford them both, you can definitely play them both, because if the Raiders are producing fantasy points, it's most likely coming from Adams or Jacobs. Now, below that, you have Derek Carr at 10-2. He's fine. I mean, the quarterbacks are always safe plays in the showdown. Obviously, the ceiling isn't as high on him as it is, Jacobs and Adams, but he is, probably going to give you around 15 to 20 fantasy points, which is, again, totally fine on this slate. The Raiders, the team I have more confidence in. If you're looking at the two teams in general with the Raiders versus the Rams, don't have a ton of confidence right now in that Rams offense. So a lot of these Raiders guys are going to be pretty popular, but I think it makes sense. Below Derek Carr, I do think Mac Hollins is a bit pricey at 7-4. He's been averaging, 5-6 targets a game. Again, he's playing a ton. That's the positive. So if you land on Mac Hollins, I'm not going to talk you off him, but I don't really think I'm going to go into the showdown site prioritizing Mac Hollins. He's just more of a secondary play. Again, Waller not expected to be back, so you're going to see Foster Moreau playing close to the entire game. He played on 23 passing plays last game. He's been averaging, 4 or 5 targets a game. Kind of like Mac Hollins, I do think is a little bit pricey. So not saying you can't play Hollins or Moreau, but they do feel a bit overpriced at the moment. And then scrolling down a bit more, the Raiders defense at 5-2, they're probably going to get some ownership because the Rams offense has been awful. I mean, they're fine, but we have seen this a lot recently. I always talk about defenses in this spot usually go over-owned. So I'll probably personally fade the Raiders defense. Again, Renfrow not expected back. Daniel Carlson, I think, is a good value on the slate. There's not a ton of punt plays. The kickers are always safe plays, so I like Daniel Carlson. Amir Abdullah, if he's available to go, will be the back running back. He's been averaging 2-3 targets a game, just a dart throw. If he can't go, most likely Zamir White would fill in. But yeah, they're just giving a ton of snaps right now to Josh Jacobs. So it's hard to feel confident in either the backup running backs. Probably my favorite punt play on the Raiders, and it's not something I love saying, is Keelan Cole at $200. And the reason is he is their slot wide receiver. Now, he's not going to play the entire game, but he's averaging close to 2 targets a game over the last 4. And at this price point, you really only need 1, maybe 2 catches. So, and if you do go Keelan Cole, again, it's not really about, you don't need a ton from him. It's just, what does he do to open up more things in your lineup, right? If you play Keelan Cole, well, then you can go up and get both Jacobs and Adams. That's the direction you want to go. So Keelan Cole, again, he played 35 of the 61 snaps, played on 23 passing plays. So I think he's probably your best bet as far as a punt play on the Raiders go. And then backup tight end Hollister played 6 snaps. Again, he's the same price as Keelan Cole. So we're going to give me 35 snaps for Cole and 6 snaps for Hollister. Just going to prefer Keelan Cole. All right, now let's move on to the Rams. So the Rams, not as clear-cut. They did sign Baker Mayfield. Doesn't look like he's going to be available for this game. Wolford got banged up last game, but sounds like he's trending towards playing. And if Wolford, so here's the thing. The better fantasy quarterback would be Bryce Perkins because he's got rushing upside, but they don't throw a ton with Bryce Perkins. If Wolford plays, that's a boost to the Rams wide receiver, so he's just a better throwing quarterback. So Wolford at 8-8, assuming he plays, I do think is a fine contrarian play. I don't think he'll get a ton of ownership. Hasn't done much the 2 games he's played, 10 and 8 fantasy points, but should be a good game script. It's not like the Raiders defense is great, so I think he'd be a decent contrarian play on this showdown. The running back situation is where, this just confused me because 2 games ago, the Rams at the moment have nothing to play for. They're basically out of the playoffs. Stafford's done for the year, Kupp's done for the year. They have nothing to play for. 2 games ago against the Chiefs, they played Kerwin Williams 70% of the snaps, and Cam Akers didn't get a ton. And then last game, you saw Cam Akers get way more opportunities. So this confused me because you would think they would want to give their rookie running back in Williams more opportunities, but you saw 46 of the 64 snaps for Cam Akers, only 18 for Williams. So this is one where I think it can be volatile. If Williams is playing well in his touches, I think they could go to him more. If it's Akers, they go to him. So I'm just not convinced either way with these running backs. I think both are more GBP only plays for me. Akers not really involved in the passing game. The better pass catching back of the 2 is definitely Kyren Williams at 5.4. So the 2 Rams running backs, more GBP only plays. Wide receiver, it's a bit easier to talk about. So the Rams still playing, their top wide receivers the entire game. Van Jefferson played the entire game, 64 of the 64 snaps, and you saw 62 of the 64 for Skoranek. So I think both these guys are solid options in the mid-range. I think the ceiling is a bit higher on Van Jefferson, but Skoranek also a bit cheaper. He's listed as questionable. I expect him to go, though. So both the top Rams wide receivers, I think, are decent options in a game they should be playing from behind. And I feel better about them if Wolford plays as opposed to Perkins at quarterback. And Tyler Higbee, 6'2", did have 5 targets last week. I mean, he's been blocking a bit more of late, but he did play 54 of these 64 snaps. Played on 20 passing plays. So he's still a viable target for sure. I think I feel a bit better about the wide receivers, but you can still consider Higbee. And then last game with McCutcheon out. I don't know if you played preseason DFS, you're very familiar with Lance McCutcheon. This guy won us a lot of money. But with him out last game, you saw Brandon Powell and Tutu Atwell kind of split the snaps. Tutu played 30 of the 64 snaps. Brandon Powell played 26 of the 64. But again, that was with McCutcheon out. If you go back the previous week, so let me go ahead and bring that up on my end. Previous week, you saw McCutcheon play 26 of the 55 snaps. Atwell played 28. Brandon Powell played 26. So it's basically a 3-way split with those secondary wide receivers for the Rams. If you look at the price points, right, you have Tutu's 4.4, Powell's 2.4, and McCutcheon is the flat min $200. So assuming he's good to go, I think of those secondary wide receivers, he would probably be my favorite, just considering price point, right? And this guy, he's a pretty talented wide receiver. So McCutcheon, Powell, and Tutu, kind of expect those guys to mix in as the wide receiver 3. All of them are in play, but I think factoring in price, McCutcheon probably looks the best. Below that, Matt Gay's fine for kicker. Probably prefer Carlson just because I'm more confident in the Raiders offense. But Carlson's going to get a lot more ownership, so you can still look to Gay in GPPs. Rams defense at 3-4. Probably not for me, but you never know. It's not like Derek Carr is phenomenal quarterback. He could definitely throw an interception or 2. And then I think that's it. We covered like the secondary wide receivers. I guess, backup tight end was Hopkins, and he played. I gotta bring it back up. He played, where is it? He played 10 of the 64 snaps. Again, I think there's other guys in this range, right? McCutcheon, Keelan Cole, who I expect to play a good amount more. So don't think I can prioritize him over those two guys I just mentioned. And yeah, that is going to wrap it up for the showdown. So again, guys, if you have been enjoying the NFL DFS videos, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And good luck on this showdown. Hope to see you guys at the top of the leaderboard. And I'll see you all in the next video.